Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can hear my heart beating through the microphone, but I am so honored to be here, and thank you so much to Amy and Melissa and WBL for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. This is a full circle moment for me. I was actually sitting in that chair right over there this time last year, listening to incredible speakers and leaving the room so inspired and so empowered. I had just joined WBL and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my community. These women are incredible. And also secretly in the back of my mind thinking, it would be so cool to be up there next year. So here I am. And the story that I want to share about how I built it is going to start with the story of how my life all fell apart. 2 years ago, when I was 45, my marriage of 18 years was falling apart. I had moved out of the house that I had lived in for 15 years where I had helped raise my kids. I was being bought out of the business that I had developed from scratch 17 years before that. And it was everything that had brought me safety and security and comfort for almost 2 decades of my life was dissolving. And that triggered the deepest levels of anxiety, depression, PTSD, and panic attacks that I had ever experienced in my life, to the point where I wasn't able to work. I wasn't able to drive a car, I wasn't functioning. And when I would get up from my bed to go try to do something or make food, I would have what would feel like tidal waves of anxiety and panic crush over me to the point where I would have to go back and lay down again. So as you can imagine, I was in the lowest point of my life. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't able to sleep. I was having constant heart palpitations. So my life felt like a nightmare, no matter day or night, that I could not wake up from. I was in and out of my primary care's office. I had gone to the ER a few times. I was wearing a heart monitor for days, and nothing was physically wrong with me. And in May of 2022, I hit rock bottom because after months of barely surviving in that state, no one knew what to do with me or how to help me, including me. I had done countless traditional things and non-traditional things, and I didn't know what else to do. So in May of 2022, I went to a voluntary crisis center for 5 days that changed the course of my life. And in that 5 days, there were 2 events that happened. And for time purposes, I'm going to share one of those with you. So as you can imagine, finding myself at the age of 46, in a crisis center was something I could have never, ever imagined for myself. But in there, I met this guy named Leo. Now, Leo was not one of the staff members. He was in there for his own struggles. And Leo and I instantly had this connection, and it was this unspeakable thing and what was so crazy about it was that Leo was someone that I would have never in a million years run into in my regular life. We found out through group activities that we had to do throughout the day that we had a lot of shared experiences together, or not together, but we had a lot of shared things that we were going through in our lives. And on the morning of the 3rd day, I found myself in the kitchen, at the counter, sitting on a stool, pouring my heart and soul out to someone that I had just met 3 days before. And Leo was making a peanut butter sandwich with a spoon because in a crisis center, there are no knives. So I sat there, tears pouring out of my eyes, sharing things about what my life was like right now, things about childhood. And I said to him, I feel like I'm worthless. And Leo stopped what he was doing and looked away for what felt like ever. And he looked back at me directly into my eyes, and he said, "Colleen, you are worth it." And in that moment, it was as if he was speaking from some higher power, and that energy and his presence pierced through all of the pain, the trauma, the negative beliefs I had about myself, and it completely shattered all of it. Because for the first time in my life, I actually believed him. And I realized that everything had been crumbling in my life and falling apart, partly because I had built it on the belief and the foundation that I was worthless. And it had to fall apart, and that I was being given a second chance. A chance to be able to build from a foundation where I am worthy. Not because I've accomplished something, not because I've done something. I was at the lowest point of my life. I had no home, I had no business. I had no clue how I was gonna get out of the darkest place I'd ever been in my life. But I decided to believe him anyway. And it was from that place I knew that I could leave there and use that foundation of my worthiness to build everything I've ever wanted in my life. And so when I left the crisis center, I still had all of the physical symptoms that I had gone in with. The anxiety, the heart palpitations, everything was still at a level 15 out of 10. But what I left there with that I hadn't walked in with was my worth. And from that place, I was able to use that foundation, brick by brick, to find the courage to face the things that I had been unwilling to face, and to feel the things that I had been unwilling to feel. And I realized that what had been the waves of panic and the waves of anxiety that was just like this tidal wave crashing over me was actually things like shame and heartbreak and grief, anger, sadness, rage, and using that courage to feel those feelings and not run from them, not hide from them, but feel them more than I'd ever felt in my life, changed everything. And slowly but surely, day by day, all of my physical symptoms went away. To the point where last summer, I decided to renew my chiropractic license. And then in August, I opened my chiropractic office with the same technique that has saved my life. And I realized that every single thing that I've been through and gone through has prepared me to be the person I am right now and the healer that I am right now, and that I'm successful not despite those things, but because of them. So every single day in my office, I have the honor and the privilege to see healing happen with people that had been suffering for years or decades with trauma, anxiety, depression, pain. And I get to see the hope in their face when they come to me after everything else has failed them, and know that I can help them. And it's one of my greatest honors and privileges to be able to do that, and to know that I would never, ever be able to help in the way that I have if I hadn't gone through everything that I've gone through, if I haven't faced everything that I've faced, and if I hadn't healed everything that I've healed. And I'm beyond excited to share with you that February was the best 5-figure month I've ever had in my business. And it's not about the money. It's about what the money means to me. And what that means is that not only am I helping more people than I've ever helped in my life heal, but that past version of me that thought I would never in a million years be able to support myself and left me paralyzed, I've proven her wrong. So what I'd like to leave you all with today is the gift that Leo gave to me. So I invite you all to close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath. And no matter where you are on your journey of your self-worth, no matter if you've been doing this work for decades, years, months, or just starting in this moment, I invite you to go deeper than you've ever gone before in knowing that whatever it is in your heart that you desire, whether it's to leave your job and start your business, whether it's to become a speaker, whether it's to start a podcast, or have that next $100,000, million, or $10 million, whatever that desire is, I want you to decide right here, right now, in this moment, with all these incredible souls as your witness, that you are worth it, and that you are no longer willing to settle for anything less. I'm Dr. Colleen Norris. Thank you.